I'm clear, thank you. Is there another court date or anything I need to be aware of?
Not at this time.
I'm clear, thank you. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Okay, we are back streaming live on YouTube. I'm calling State of Georgia versus Tyrus Harris. There at the jail, if you are Tyrus Harris, just wave at me to confirm that. All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Harris is charged with burglary warrant 2025 WA01977 and obstruction of a law enforcement officer warrant 978. And representing the state is Ms. Thomas. Representing Mr. Harris is Ms. Bulware. And Ms. Thomas, you can call your witness.
Corporal Oliver, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the evidence you shall give this morning before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
You can put your hand down, state your name for the record,
Corporal Carrie Oliver.
and how you employed,
I am employed with the Jonesboro Police Department.
and were you so employed in that capacity on March 7th of 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have occasion to investigate an incident that occurred at 8050 Terra Boulevard?
Yes,
Building
ma'am.
building M9.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that within the confines of the city of Jonesboro, Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
What brought you to that location?
We received a call from dispatch stating that the employees or the maintenance guy at 8050 Terra Boulevard entered into what was supposed to be a vacant apartment. And upon entering, he was met with Mr. Harris and his co-defendant. They were not supposed to be there. They did not have permission to be there. And they have also, by admittance of themselves and the maintenance crew, have broken into several other empty, vacant homes and unoccupied dwellings in that same complex. So the maintenance guy was familiar with them.
Okay, now when you say broke into the homes, exactly what were they doing?
Um, the maintenance guy stated that when he entered into the unoccupied dwelling, they were in a back room somewhere. He stated he was entering into the dwelling to confirm there was a refrigerator. And when he did come into the,
Objection, non-responsive.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the objection.
Not responsive to the question.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, what was your question again?
I believe I asked exactly what did they do, and I thought that's what I heard the officer explaining.
Okay. I'm gonna overrule and allow her to keep explaining.
Officer,
So the maintenance man entered the unoccupied dwelling to confirm there was a refrigerator. At that point, he said Mr. Harris turned the corner from one of the bedrooms and said, "What do you want?" or something to that nature. At that point, the maintenance man said he left and dialed 911.
so at the time that the maintenance man encountered him, he was inside of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, just to focus down on this, what happened specifically on March the 7th?
So on March the 7th, as I stated, we arrived at 8050 Terra Boulevard. The maintenance man stated it was Harris and his co-defendant in the unoccupied dwelling, stated that they had already left on foot by the time that officers arrived. We canvassed the area and received a call from one of the businesses stating that Harris and his co-defendant had came out of the wood line and was arguing in their parking lot. Upon arrival at the business, I asked both parties where they had just come from. They gave me conflicting stories. One said they were coming from Quick Trip. The other one said they were coming from across the street at Kroger. Um, I um, I then asked, where are you guys coming from? Somebody said they saw you guys at 8050. Where are you guys at 8050? Um, they started giving conflicting stories again, even though they stated that they had been with each other the entire time. They still gave conflicting stories. At which point I took Miss Bowie, well, I didn't take her into custody at that point. I detained her for further investigation. As we moved to detain Mr. Harris, he pulled away from my partner and began to run. It wasn't a very long chase, but it was a chase nonetheless. And we took him into custody, finished the investigation, at which point it was determined that they were inside. The maintenance man physically ID'd both parties, and
Let me stop you right here. It goes, I had
okay.
exactly what I'm trying to get you. The maintenance man was still there when you all were able to detain both of the defendants.
Yes, ma'am. I called back to the maintenance man. I had his number, and he described what they had on and their hair.
And did they conform with the description that was provided to you?
Yes, ma'am.
When you initially saw them before they took off, were they still on the property or still in the wood line?
They had come out of the wood line, which backs up directly to the property. They had come out of the wood line. They were on they were in the parking lot for another property that's on North Avenue.
Okay. Now, were the property that they entered on this particular day, do you know if that property was in fact secured?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
And we're talking about apartments, correct?
Yes,
An
ma'am.
apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if anything was damaged or if anything was removed from the unit?
The maintenance man stated that when he went to enter the um dwelling, he did notice that I guess the locking mechanism was damaged, and he said he made a note of it to repair later. And when he made entry, that's when he saw Mr. Harris and his co-defendant.
But you don't know if they actually took anything. He didn't say if anything was actually physically taken.
No, ma'am. The only thing in the apartment, I believe, were heavy appliances and whatever they left in the apartment before they fled.
When you say whatever, you're talking about their personal belongings.
Yes, ma'am.
What would that be? Was it clothing? What?
Ms. Bowie stated that she left food and some personal items, which I believe to be clothing, things of that nature. She said that she didn't need it, the clothing, but she wanted the food. I advised her that the food wouldn't be allowed inside the jail.
And when you say only heavy equipment, I'm sorry, heavy appliances, we're talking what? Refrigerators?
Refrigerator, stove, things of that nature.
Okay. And I believe you may have answered this before, but just to be sure it's out there. These are vacant apartments, or do
Yes,
they have
ma'am.
occupants?
So some of they're vacant dwellings that are in the same building as occupied dwellings. The entire complex is not vacant.
So some of the units that are actually vacant are in the same building with units that are occupied.
Yes, ma'am.
And the unit that you investigated this particular day was a vacant unit.
Yes, ma'am.
And the only thing that was damaged that you know of was the locking mechanism?
Yes, ma'am.
Had either one of them been given permission to come onto the property and to enter vacant apartments?
No, ma'am.
Had they been seen previously on the property by management?
Yes, ma'am, several times before.
And had they both been told to not return to the premises?
Yes, ma'am. We were actually in the process of looking for them to issue them criminal trespass warnings from the entire property, which they were issued on that same date.
And just cover all bases, neither one of them were occupants?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Got it, 1 second. When you all saw them coming from the tree line, did you ask either one of them or both of them to stop?
So they were already standing in the parking lot. They were already out of the tree line by the time I came around. They were standing there arguing. And when I approached, or when I pulled up and parked and approached, I asked them where they were coming from. Neither one of them attempted to run at that point. Ms. Bowie said, I'm leaving the city. I'm leaving the city. I said, well, you're not free to leave right now. Both of you guys are under investigation because they said that you guys were at 80-50.
And what was the response to that from either of them?
They complied.
And this is after running?
No, ma'am, this is before he ran.
Okay. And you say he ran, she did not?
No, ma'am. I had detained her already, patted her down and put her in the back of my marked patrol vehicle. I was making my way back around to the front of the vehicle when I saw him pull away from my partner and attempt to flee on foot.
Now, the person that you encountered on that day, did you see them in court with us today?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you identify him by physical appearance or article of clothing?
Yes, ma'am. He's a black male, short haircut, wearing the orange jumper.
Okay. And I believe that's all I have at this time, reserved right for redirect.
All right, Ms. Bulwer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Oliver, on March 7th, what are you alleging that Mr. Harris took from the apartment?
I'm sorry.
What did he take from, what are you alleging that he took from that apartment?
I'm not alleging that he took anything from the apartment, ma'am.
And I believe your testimony was the only thing that was located in that actual apartment were heavy appliances.
And personal belongings that they had with them when they were when they were inside of the unoccupied dwelling.
I believe that's all I have at this time.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, any further witnesses from the state?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
And Ms. Bulwer, are you all presenting any witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And Ms. Thomas, do you want to reserve closing?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Bulwer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the definition of burglary, in the state of Georgia, a person commits the offensive burglary when without authority and with the intent to commit a felony therein, they enter and remain within an occupied dwelling. There's no evidence here presented that my client entered with the intent to commit a theft. In fact, the testimony was that there were heavy appliances in the apartment. There's no testimony that anything was taken from the apartment. Officer testified that she's not alleging that they attempted to take anything. The allegation with regards to how they gained entry is simply that a locking mechanism was broken. There's been no indication of value that would cause the damage to rise to the level of felony. So therefore, the state has not met its burden with regards to the burglary offense. And I will submit on the obstruction. And I would ask that the burglary be dismissed, obviously, and submit on the obstruction.
All right, Ms. Thomas.
Your Honor, I understand the defense's point of view. However, state would contend that this is repeated damage over an extended period of time, according to the officer's testimony. Granted, there wasn't an exact dollar value given as to the damage to the lock. However, Your Honor, the state would contend that based on the fact that they continually enter these apartments, they have never had a pit.
We're only here for March 7th, and there's no other evidence with regards to any other alleged incidents.
However, if I may be allowed to continue my argument, that based on the totality of the officer's testimony regarding the events going on in this property, where you have a person who has been repeatedly warned not to return, not only do they return, but they continually do the same thing over and over again, state would ask the case in its entirety to be transferred to the Superior Court of Clayton County.
All right, thank you both. I am in agreement with Ms. Bulware based on the testimony presented that I don't feel like there was evidence of an intent to commit a felony or theft therein, and so I don't think that the burglary charge, that there's probable cause for burglary. I'm going to dismiss the burglary charge. I am going to find probable cause for the obstruction charge. That's a misdemeanor, so that case will be bound over to state court. And I will issue that order today. And that will take care of everything on this case. Corporal Oliver, if you don't have any other cases, you can be excused. And deputies, that will take care of everything on Mr. Harris's case. He can be taken back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, is the co-defendant, Ms. Bowie, is she not being seen today?
I believe that's been taken care of. Yeah, that was a bond waiver.
It's consent bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if we could call, I believe, Mr. Ellis, that would be Attorney Rogers' client.
Where are we on, was it? Let's see, you said Stillwell is ready. That was the witness. Oh, is Ellis, which one was the DFAX case? We're waiting on the officer.
Still waiting, Your Honor. I don't see him having logged on.
He's still not on. Okay.
No.
All right. So you want to move to Ellis, you said?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So deputies, can we get Mitchell Ellis up, please?
Officer Gant. Oh, there you go.
All right. As soon as the defendant gets up, we're ready to go. Okay, I am calling State of Georgia versus Mitchell Ellis. So there at the jail, if you're Mitchell Ellis, wave at me to confirm. All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Ellis is charged with aggravated assault, family violence, warrant 2025 CW 70733, felony murder, that's warrant 734, and possession of a firearm during the commission of certain crimes, that's warrant 735. Representing the state is Ms. Thomas. Representing Mr. Ellis is Mr. Rogers. And Ms. Thomas, you can call your witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I start, I've got two officers who are still on. If I may be allowed to excuse them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Investigator Wallace and Officer Green, both of you all are excused. Detective, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the evidence you should give before the court today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Put your hand down, state your name for the record.
My name is Detective Jason Gant. I work for the Clayton County Police Department.
And were you so employed on or about March the 8th of 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have occasion to investigate an incident that occurred at 7216 Monarch Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did that occur within the confines of the city of Riverdale?
No, ma'am. That's unincorporated Clayton County.
Okay. And did it involve a Mitchell Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
And could you please explain to the court what's going on, what happened at that location involving Mr. Ellis?
All right. So we got a 911 call placed by Mr. Ellis saying that he had shot a woman. So we went out to the scene to investigate. The victim, Malika Agadegba, was deceased when we arrived. And Mr. Ellis had admitted to officers that he had shot her. He had also made this admission on the 911 call that he placed.
So let me back up
When
a minute. When he made the initial 911 was made by him.
yes, ma'am.
And on that 911, what did he say?
He said that he had shot a woman.
Did he indicate whether or not she was deceased at that time?
So I've requested the recording. I haven't heard the recording from the 911 dispatcher,
Okay.
but when officers arrived at the scene, they found the cell phone of Malika was recording. So I have listened to that recording, and yes, it seems from that recording, that one's kind of harder to hear, but it seems from that recording that he does say that she's dead, that she's deceased.
Now, this is skipping ahead a little bit, but just since you brought it up, was the victim's phone active and recording during the entire incident?
Yes.
Okay. What, based on your investigation, happened between the defendant and the victim?
Okay, so we brought Mr. Ellis back to the Clayton County Police Headquarters for interview. He was read his Miranda rights, and he was interviewed in our interview room, which is audio and video recorded. Mr. Ellis said that Malika had come over, that she was intoxicated when she came over, that they were sitting and watching TV, and they were arguing. He said that they were arguing over him going to a female to get his taxes done. He said that she's very controlling, doesn't want him around other women, that she stalks him. I was able to look up to see that they did have some domestic disturbance history. And I see that she had kind of moved in with him for a little while. They had lived together briefly, and then he had called the police to help get them to move her out, and she did willingly move out. I don't have those case numbers right here.
That's fine.
But okay. So Mr. Ellis went on to say that they were watching TV. He said he got up to get a drink. They had been arguing. She had been drinking, and she pushed and shoved him into the wall. And when I was on the scene, I did see damage to the drywall and a wall that's across from the bedroom door in the hallway.
Okay.
Okay. And he said that she continued to fight with him. So he drew his gun that he said he always keeps on him. This is a 357 Magnum revolver. He said they fought over the gun. He shot her in the leg. She backed up, yelled, "You shot me." And then he said that she came at him again, and he shot her again.
Now, you indicated that the victim's cell phone recorded. Did it record audio and video, or a combination thereof?
Just audio.
Just audio?
Yes, ma'am. Just audio.
What could you determine from the audio?
Okay, so we got a search warrant for her cell phone, and we were able to listen to the audio recording that she had made. Most of it lines up with his story. The two of them are arguing. She's very antagonistic. She seems to be picking a fight with him. They are arguing. At one point, you can hear him talking in the background. I'm not sure what he says. And then you hear a crash. Then you hear a scuffle. This is probably where she shoves him into the wall. Then you hear the first gunshot. Then she starts yelling repeatedly, "You shot me, you shot me, you shot me, you shot me, you shot me," over and over again. At the beginning of the recording, you can tell that they are far away from the phone, because you can tell she's shouting, but it's quiet. As she continues to yell, "You shot me, you shot me," it's getting louder and louder, showing that she's coming closer to the phone. You can hear his voice in the background. He is further away. As she is coming closer to the phone, "You shot me, you shot me," you can hear a rustle, which is, as I believe, her picking up the phone. And then immediately after that, you hear the second shot pop, and it goes quiet. So it sounds like she is moving away from him, picking up her phone, and he shoots her again. He hit her in the neck and killed her on the spot. You then hear him make the 911 call on the recording of her phone, and that phone stays recording until officers arrive and recover the phone.
So the phone recorded audio of pretty much everything?
Pretty much everything.
Was there any other person in the home when this happened? Any other
No,
man
ma'am.
or anyone, any other?
No, ma'am. So from the sound of the recording, yes, they were arguing. It sounds like she does start a physical fight with him. And then it sounds like he shoots her in the leg. She's moving away from him and he shoots her again. So I don't doubt that she was fighting with him. I just didn't see a justification for lethal force, especially for the second shot.
Okay, that's what I'm getting to. Was there any indication that she had a weapon of any type?
No, but again, it's just audio, but no, it did not sound that way.
You don't hear any voices saying, "Oh, you have a weapon," or any kind of recognition that there's another weapon in play?
No, ma'am.
Was she hit twice?
Yes, ma'am. She was hit once in the leg and once in the neck.
Okay. Were any shell casings or anything recovered? I understand you said this is a revolver, but was there
Yes.
anything?
So there were 2 fired shell casings inside the revolver.
Was there any type of recording device other than the phone in the home? Any type of ring, any type of video ring, anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. No, ma'am. We didn't find anything like that.
When you all arrived at the scene, I believe you said you did speak with the defendant.
Yes, officers spoke with him at the scene, and then I interviewed him at the Clayton County Police Headquarters.
At any point in time, did he deny being the person that shot her?
No.
And he acknowledged shooting her both times?
Yes.
Did he ever indicate that she attempted to threaten him with a weapon of any type?
No.
And the person that you encountered that evening and that you interviewed, do you see them in court with us today?
Yes, ma'am. I see Mr. Ellis there wearing the red jumper with glasses.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Where's the cell phone now? Let me rephrase that. Where is the recording from the cell phone now?
A recording should be on our Polaris system, which we use to store data. Also, the cell phone is at the Clayton County Police Headquarters.
So you all were able to save and preserve that recording?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any indication of why it was recording to begin with?
So Mr. Ellis had told me that they had domestic disturbance issues and that she would record him. This is kind of speculation, but it kind of sounds like she was purposely trying to start a fight with him and record it. Like just from her antagonistic attitude and demeanor of what they were arguing about, like he wasn't trying to argue with her. It seemed like she was picking an argument with him.
Is that based on what you heard on the recording?
Yes, ma'am.
But she never says on the recording, "I'm recording you."
No, ma'am.
And you all's interactions, and by you all, I mean yourself and other officers, were your interactions, first of all, were you equipped with body cam?
No, ma'am.
Were any of the other officers on the scene equipped with body cam?
Yes, ma'am. The uniformed patrol officers who arrived on scene are equipped with body cam.
Did they record the defendant's statements that he made on the scene?
By policy, they should have been, but I have not looked at their body camera footage.
Your interview with the defendant later, was that recorded in any way?
Yes, ma'am. That is audio and video recorded from our interview room.
Okay. And where is that recording?
That recording is on Polaris, which is our data storing
Okay.
website.
Yeah, I believe that's all I have. Reserve right for redirect.
All right, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Can I have a moment before I start? Can I have a moment with Mr. Ellis, please, in the breakout room?
Sure. I'll put you guys in the breakout room number 1. Actually, you're both still assigned there. Deputies, if you guys could transfer into breakout room number 1 for a moment.
Thank you.
All right, we'll hold till they return. Okay, looks like everybody's back.
All good to go, Judge?
Yeah, I think Miss Thomas, are you back there? Let me make sure she's there.
I'm here, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Rogers, you're across.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Detective, I'm assuming you're the lead on the case, right?
Yes, sir.
And if I understand, well, let me ask you, I guess, obviously you talked to Mr. Ellis. To your knowledge, has he ever been arrested before?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not expecting you to get it exactly right, but to my understanding, he's 71 years old.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And the decedent, by my math, I think she was 45, is that correct?
About that, yes.
Yeah, I understand. If you can't say exactly, I understand.
Yes, yes, sir. That sounds correct.
Um, and well, I'm not sure. Did you respond to the thing that day? Could you?
I'm sorry.
Let me try
You
again.
may
I
have cut
said,
out.
did you respond to the scene that day?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And can you give us an approximate height and weight of both people involved, Mr. Ellis and the deceased?
All right. So Mr. Ellis is about 6 foot 200 pounds on his driver's license. But I don't think he's that large anymore. Maybe at one point he was that big. And then Malika, I believe she was showing smaller. I don't have her GCIC printout here with me. I think the point that you're trying to get to is that she's larger than him.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was.
And yes, from looking at him and looking at her, she does appear larger than him.
And did you all, well, you and Mr. Ellis specifically, did you all have any kind of discussion about any health issues or things that he might be dealing with?
He had talked about his finger, that she had hurt his finger and his finger didn't move all the way. Other than that, I don't recall discussing any health issues.
Okay, I'm gonna mention something just to see, and if not, if you didn't, you didn't. If you don't recall, you don't recall.
Yes,
Do you,
sir.
maybe diabetes, high blood pressure, neuropathy, arthritis, kidney or heart issues, or any of those sound?
No, sir, I don't recall discussing those issues with him.
If I understood the testimony correctly on direct, she no longer lived there at the time of this incident, correct?
That's correct.
Do you know how she came to be there that day?
He told me that she drove there and her car was at the scene.
And if I understood correctly from your testimony on direct, Mr. Ellis said that the firearm involved is one that he keeps on him.
Yes, sir.
And so I take that to mean that he's saying he did not have to retrieve the firearm, at some sort of break in the action or anything, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And the recording that you discussed, the audio, well, I understand is, I understood you say it was just an audio from the cell phone. Is it that it is only an audio recorder being used, or is it just that, like you can have a video, but it's just not actually showing anything? Do you know
Yes,
which
sir.
one?
It's just an audio recording. It's not a video program. It's an audio program.
And when you mentioned, well, I'm gonna make sure I understood you also correctly on direct. You said that you observed a hole in the wall
Yes, sir. So this was
that you thought was consistent with Mr. Ellis.
Yeah, this was
Go ahead. Yeah.
hole like 2 feet by 1 foot hole in the drywall. And Mr. Ellis did have like white powder on the back of his t-shirt. So I don't doubt that she shoved him into the wall and broke the wall.
And I know you're not a contractor or anything like that, but I mean, did the rest of the wall look pretty much like a normal, stable wall? Like it's not deteriorating or anything like that, is it?
No, sir. It looked like a good, well cared for house and wall.
And if I understand correctly, I guess at the firing of the first shot, what is your understanding of how that occurs?
So according to his testimony, they were fighting in the hallway. He drew his gun, he said, from his waistband. He said that they fought over the gun. And he said he had fired it like this in his hands. And he had gunpowder burns on his hand that would be consistent with burns from a cylinder gap of a revolver. if you were holding it like this and fired it. So that
And
was the first shot.
understood. And I don't, let me ask, I guess, so what's do you have an idea, and I'm not asking you to pin it down exactly, but do you have an idea of about how close together they are at that point?
I would imagine they were like within touching distance of each other when the first shot was fired.
And that shot, I know you said it hit her in the leg. Where in the leg?
So this would have been, I believe, the upper left thigh.
And then from there, I want to talk about the audio that you hear from there. And you mentioned you had an opinion about, I guess, where people are moving in relation to the phone. Can you say that? I just want to make sure I understand before I start asking more questions about it. What was your position about how the part goes after the first shot is fired?
Okay, so when the video recording begins, Malika's voice is very loud, so you can tell
Not to
she's
cut you off,
close.
not to cut you off the tape. You said video. Did you mean the audio?
Yes, I'm sorry. When the audio recording begins, Malika's voice is very loud, so you can tell she's near the phone. All right. Then you hear the scuffle, the crash into the wall and the scuffle. So again, I don't doubt that they were fighting, that they were physically fighting, and I don't doubt that she started it. Okay. It's quieter. Their voices are quieter, so they are further away from the phone. Then you hear the first pop, and then you hear her start shouting, "You shot me." And she says it over and over again. "You shot me, you shot me." You can tell from her voice that she's shouting, but it's quieter. So she is farther away from the phone. Then you hear it getting louder and louder. "You shot me, you shot me, you shot me, you shot me." It's getting louder. You can tell she's moving closer to the phone. You hear a rustle, which is, I believe, her picking up the phone, and then pop, you hear the second shot. So it sounds like she's moving away from him and gets shot the second time, which hits her in the neck, and she collapses.
Okay. Let me ask you about that last part because I was following you up until. Let me tell you what I heard, and then maybe if I misheard it or something, correct me. I thought you said that there's the first gunshot, you hear her saying, "You shot me," and it kind of moves away. It sounds like it's moving away from the phone. Then you said it gets louder as it's still saying, "You shot me." And then you hear the phone get picked up. Is that so far? Is that correct up to that point?
No, so you hear the scuffle, you can tell the scuffle's far from the phone. Then you hear the first pop, and you hear her start saying, "You shot me," but it's quiet. You can tell she's shouting, but it's quiet. Then she says it over and over again. It gets louder the more times she says it, and then you hear the rustle, which is, I believe, her picking up the phone, and then you hear the second pop.
Okay. So I guess let me ask, when you say it sounds like at that point she is moving away, what?
Away from him, away from where the scuffle was.
All right, well, let's talk about that then, because maybe I need a little bit more of an understanding there. Let's talk about the house first. Let's just kind of lay the house out.
Okay.
What's the layout of the house?
Single story, regular residential house. When you walk in the front door, you got to your left is the living room, dining room, kitchen goes to the left. To the right, you have a hallway where the bedrooms are. Okay.
Where does the shooting occur?
Okay, so if you were to go in to the front door, turn right into that hallway, on the left, you have the master bedroom, which is where they were watching TV. Then, so you're looking down the hallway, the master bedroom on the left, directly across from the door in the hallway is where the hole in the wall is. where I believe she shoved him into the wall. So she pushed him out of the bedroom, across the hall into the wall, and hit the wall on the far side of the hallway across from the bedroom door. Her body was in the bedroom. So when you turn left and go into the bedroom, you got the bed on your right. The TV is kind of like to a hard right up against the wall where the doorway entrance is. And then it's open in front of you with the bed on your right. And then to the left is the bathroom. And she's laying there deceased on the floor in the bedroom, probably about 8 feet from the hole in the wall. I wish I had a sketch for you, but I just don't have the case file here.
Understood. I think I have at least a rough idea of the layout. And so the first shot, where are they at when that first shot is fired?
I believe they're in the hallway when that first shot is fired. We have some blood droplets in the hallway, so I believe that's where she got hit the first time.
Okay. And where's, and I'm asking this because, obviously a person doesn't always just drop where they're shot at. Do you have an idea where she is standing when the second shot is fired?
When the second shot is fired, she is standing in the bedroom. I believe in this case, she did drop right where she was shot. I believe she fell forward, just from where the body was lying and where the blood splatter is. So I'm guessing the phone was on the bed. It could have been placed on something else, but it wasn't on her person. And she went back into the room to get the phone, and that's where the second shot. So first shot in the hallway, second shot in the bedroom.
Well, if I understand correctly, and I don't want to assume, but it sounds like the second shot is from the front to her front, correct?
I believe so, yes. I mean, I believe so, yes.
And again, I'm not, if this is, beyond what you're able to testify to, I understand. But if she at least, let me think about how to make sure I'm asking this intelligently.
Okay.
The fact that she's lying face down, does that indicate to you that she's moving forward at the time? But like, does that tell you anything about which way she's moving?
So she's not entirely face down. She's kind of, when we got to her on her side, when we listened to the recording, it seems like the 911 dispatcher, now this is the recording on her phone, so you can't hear everything that the dispatcher's saying. It sounds like the 911 dispatcher is trying to give him instructions on how to do CPR. So I don't know if she was moved. I don't know if the officers that found her moved her in a sense to give aid. But just from looking at how I observed her body, it looks like she fell forward and then maybe someone kind of turned her on her side, or maybe she fell forward and kind of landed on her side because she was kind of on her side when I got there and observed the body.
And let me ask it this way. I'm guessing you might have already taken this into account, but I'm just asking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So is there blood coming out of the second wound? And if so, is it coming, I guess, is there blood anywhere indicating either that a person was face down or on their back at some point, one way
I don't think I'd be able
or the
to
other?
tell from where the blood was.
Let me try and ask it like maybe because I don't think I maybe explain what I'm getting at. Do you
Okay.
see blood on the body of the deceased?
Was there blood on the body of the deceased? Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is that blood is it, I guess, on the front side or the front half of the person?
So it's like coming from her. Yes, it would be on the front of her. Now, I didn't look at her backside because I had gone back before to headquarters with Mr. Ellis before the medical examiner got there. And of course, I don't have the autopsy report yet. But from my recollection of looking at the scene, yes, it was on her front side.
Just one moment. I don't think we're quite done yet, detective. And I know you said the first shot, to your understanding, was fired in the hallway, I guess near where the hole is. Do you know where, or do you at least have an idea or a theory as to where the second shot was fired from?
It's hard to tell with the revolver that doesn't spit
Your
shell
Honor,
casings
hold
out.
on, officer. Yeah, I'm gonna object. That will require cause for speculation at this point in the officer's investigation as to where the second shot could have come from.
Judge, he knows if he has an idea or a theory. That was what my question was, do you have an idea or a theory?
Well, Your Honor, at this stage for a probable cause hearing, I don't think that the officer's speculation, which is another word for a theory, would be appropriate.
Well, we're allowing him to, to testify where he thinks people may have been based on evidence. I think this is a similar question. And as far as, I think the question is there anything that would suggest to you where, what location was in? So I think it's allowable here. So I'm going to overrule. Mr. Rogers, if you can state the question again and we'll have him answer.
Thank you. Detective, I was just asking, do you have an idea or a theory about where the second shot was fired from?
I do have a theory. So Mr. Ellis's voice can be heard in the recording. It's not enough for me to really tell what he's saying, but it sounds further away. So I can't say whether he was in the hallway or just inside the bedroom, but he was not right there by the phone. So at this point now, when the second shot has gone off, Malika is very close to the phone, probably holding it because I think we hear her pick it up, but he is not as close to the phone as she is. So that's why from the sound of his voice being quieter and hers being louder, it sounds to me like she's moving away from him when the second shot is fired. So whether he's in the hallway or in the room, I couldn't say specifically. I couldn't say he's 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, but I just from the volume levels of their voices, it sounds like she's moving away from him.
And if I'm understanding, I want to oversimplify. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the reasoning. It's because her voice gets louder, and you're assuming that the phone is in some fixed location, wherever it may be, the bed, wherever. You understand that her voice is getting louder, which indicates to you that she's coming in the direction of the phone. Is that part correct so far?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. This is kind of based on your explanation of the layout of the house, and if that part is correct, excuse me, incorrect, straighten me out. But if I understood, when you come into the room, the bed, I think you said it's to the right. Did you say there was a bathroom in that room also?
So this is the master bedroom. So when you're standing in the doorway, let's say you're standing in the doorway, you got the room open in front of you. On your left, you got a wall with the door that goes into the bedroom. It's kind of open in front of you, open space in front of you. Immediately to the right is the TV, and then the bed is to your front right.
But yeah, I was asking, I guess maybe I missed out. I'm trying to get clear. Is there a bathroom in the master bedroom?
Well, yes, the bathroom has a doorway in the master bedroom. That's if you're in the doorway looking into the room on the left.
So let me ask you, because the way I'm understanding it, it seems possible, and that's why I'm asking you to correct if this is, factually or physically impossible. But if we start with the phone being on the bed, if the scuffle is in the hallway, when a person goes into that bedroom, they would pass the phone, correct? Go
Yes,
from the hallway into the bed, if they were going into the bedroom, or at least become closer to the phone, correct?
yes.
But there is space past the bed, or I guess on the other side of the room, is that correct?
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to get clear on is if a person had gone into that space and then started coming back towards the hallway, would they also be coming back towards the phone that way too? You understand what I'm saying? In other words,
So I
say I
do
come into a
understand what
room.
you're saying. So you're
Okay.
you're saying that if he had gone past the phone
Well, actually, I'm
further
asking
into the
about.
bedroom, is this what you're saying?
I'm actually asking about. Yeah, I'm actually asking about the decedent more so than Mr. Ellis. Like, if I understood it correctly, shooting happens. The first shot happens in the hallway, correct?
Yes.
And then, if I'm understanding your theory, the decedent goes into the bedroom, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, your understanding is that the phone is on the bed, or somewhere in that general area, correct?
Uh, Possibly yes.
And what I'm asking is, if a person is going into that room, can they go past the bed or into that room and away from the bed still at some point?
Yes, but not very far. Not as far as it is as the hallway.
And so then the second part I'm asking is, if they had gone past it, even if it's not as far, I'm not trying to pin you down a distance, but if they had gone past it and then started walking back towards the bed and the door, wouldn't the voice get louder that way too?
So you're saying if Mr. Ellis had gone into the bedroom past the phone.
No, no, I'm asking about the decedent at this point, because my understanding is that she's the one whose voice gets louder when she's coming. She at some point passes the phone, it happens away from the phone, then gets louder when she's saying "you shot me," correct?
Yes. Yes, it
Right.
gets louder. She's saying you shot me. Yes.
And what I'm asking about is when that's getting louder, is it possible that they're coming from the far side of the room, away from
It
the
doesn't.
door, back towards the bed
Okay,
and the
I
hallway?
understand what you're saying now. So you're saying she goes past the phone and then starts coming back towards again.
Well, yeah, I'm at least asking
Is that
acoustically,
possible?
would
I
that have the
I
same
don't
effect?
I don't think that's what happened because her voice doesn't get louder, then get quieter again, then get louder. I don't hear that I hear her getting louder and then I hear her picking up the phone and then I hear the second shot. So I hear what you're saying. And of
Yeah,
course,
I'm not making an argument.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I hear what you're saying. And without video, I can't know, 100% of every step that was taken, but it doesn't sound that way to me.
Okay. And then just one kind of, I guess, kind of a follow-up question on that part of it. Does the part when she starts saying "you shot me," does that happen immediately after the gunshot, the first gunshot?
Yep, yes, pretty much immediately. There's some other things said as too. It's hard to hear everything because it's further away, but yes, she starts shouting that amongst some other things. Um, uh, and it keeps going all the way up until the second shot.
And just a couple more questions. I think you mentioned that Mr. Ellis at least said that she was having a drink, alcoholic drink. I took it to mean. Is that correct?
Yes, there was a glass of wine that was found in the room.
And as far as Mr. Ellis, to your knowledge, had he been drinking that day?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And I know we kind of touched on it, but I just want to make sure your understanding though is that the deceased is upright for both shots.
Uh, yes, it would seem that way that she was upright for both shots.
No further questions at this time.
Okay, Ms. Thomas, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Officer, there's been some conversation regarding the size between the defendants. Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you indicated that the deceased was larger than the defendant?
So if you look at their GCIC, it would show Mr. Ellis being larger, but I don't like when I look at him, like his GCIC says he's 200 pounds. When I look at him, I don't see him as being 200 pounds. But when I look at her, I forget what was on her GCIC, but from looking at her and judging her, she is larger than what's on her GCIC. And from seeing the two of them, she appears larger than him.
But there's no indicia on that call that she attempted to approach him physically, is there? Did
I'm
you
sorry,
hear them fight?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Let me rephrase it. Did you hear the two of them fighting, physically fighting on the recording?
Yes, you do hear them physically fighting. Also, his glasses had been knocked off and were bent. I don't doubt that they were physically fighting. Okay, my doubt is just because you're physically fighting doesn't mean you get to shoot and kill someone.
We're getting there, okay? Now, she didn't live there at that point in time, did she?
She did not live there at that point in time, no.
Was there any indication that she forcibly entered?
No,
So he let her in?
it seems that way, yes.
Did he attempt to call the police before before the shooting?
No,
Trespass and anything like that?
no.
Did he ever tell you all why he let her in?
I don't remember specifically asking why he let her in. I mean, from my understanding, they're girlfriend, boyfriend, or at least were.
But he did indicate they had apparently problems in the past.
Yes.
Now, regarding the shooting itself, first shot, you say it happened in the hall of the residence,
Yes, it appears that way from the blood droplets in the hallway.
and she was still alive.
Yes, ma'am, she was still alive.
Would that have been an opportunity to get help if she was the aggressor?
Yeah, I would object. That would call for speculation.
Yeah, it would be no more speculative than trying to figure out where everybody was positioned based on a phone.
I think it's
Audio
something.
on a phone.
I think it's something you can argue in closing. I'm going to sustain the objection.
The second time that she was shot was where?
So from looking at the scene and listening to the recording, it sounded like she was in the bedroom by the foot of the bed.
Where was he?
So again, I can't say specifically where he was. I don't know if he was still in the hallway or just inside the bedroom. I can't give you a specific distance, but I can tell that he's further away from the phone than when she is. It sounds like she's holding the phone and he's further away. So the second shot occurred, she is closer to the phone than where she was when the second shot occurred.
So where was the phone actually found?
Where was the phone found?
Yes.
I believe officers picked it up off the floor. I believe.
And between the first shot and the second shot, they were further apart?
Yes, that's what it sounds like in the audio recording.
He would have had that opportunity to possibly leave the residence?
I would object again, Judge. I mean, without knowing where people are located and like enough information that would again kind of call for speculation.
I'm gonna sustain. It's the same type of question as before. I think that's something that can be argued in closing.
Did he call 911 in between the two shots that you could tell?
No, ma'am.
He shot her twice, then called.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell if she was actually trying to move away from him?
It sounded that way. Yes, ma'am.
And when you say it sounded that way, it's based on what you can hear on the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say it was found on the floor, was it on the floor of the bedroom or the floor of the hall?
So when I got to the scene, officers had already picked up the phone to plug it in order to preserve evidence. So with the new cell phone programs that are going on, if the phone runs out of battery, you can get very little information from it. So to preserve the recording, because when they arrived, it was recording. In order to preserve the recording, officers picked up the phone and took it to a patrol vehicle to plug it in to keep the battery from going out.
Did they indicate?
So I didn't see specifically, but just from speaking to them, and when they say I picked up the phone, it sounded like they picked it up off the floor.
Of the hall or the bedroom?
I couldn't tell you specifically, but going from the sounding of the recording and where she was found, she was shot with the phone in her hand. It sounds like she was shot with the phone in her hand. So then I would assume then the bedroom.
And when you say assume, can you hear on the recording the second shot?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you hear the phone thump or hit the ground or anything like that?
No, I can't recall a specific sound that would indicate a thump of
Okay.
it hitting the ground.
Okay. And that's all I have.
Okay. And Mr. Rogers, any recross on that?
Yes, sir, just real quick.
Okay.
Detective, did the police, when they responded, did they put any kind of like evidence marker or anything about where they found the phone?
No, sir, I don't recall an evidence marker being placed where they found the phone.
And at this point, you haven't seen the body cam video of whichever officers responded initially.
Yes, sir, that is correct. I have not seen the body camera footage yet.
Oh, thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, any further witnesses from the state?
Right at this time, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rogers, you presenting any witnesses today?
No, sir, Judge. Just a brief argument.
All right, Ms. Thomas, do you want to reserve closing?
I do.
All right, Mr. Rogers.
Judge, at this point, my understanding, I guess, and I appreciate the detective's testimony. I think it's been helpful. I would say that if I understand it, the felony murder and the possession of the firearm are predicated on the aggravated assault alleged to be committed with the firearm. At this point, I guess there's a couple of things I would point out is that aggravated assault requires a person to act without justification. In this case, we have a 71-year-old man in his own house, which sounds like is being attacked by a person who is approximately 25 years, possibly 26 years younger, and larger. I guess the reasonableness of defending oneself under those circumstances. I guess I don't think the detective's questioning the general reasonableness of defending oneself under those circumstances. I think he even kind of said that his particular objection was regarding the second shot more so. And what I would say about that though is that at this point, and I understand the logic, I understand the reasoning. I think that they are possible, explanations that were given by the detective. I do think it's kind of important that we know, number one, where the phone is located as it's being used as a reference point. At this point, without it having been marked, as far as the evidence, the location of the evidence having been marked so that the detective can know, where the phone was recovered. Somebody's gonna need to see the body cam to know where the phone was when police entered the location. So at this point, I don't think that we have enough information to say whether or not people are moving away or towards Mr. Ellis. And again, this is a person who at least sounds like it's still upright and moving around after the first shot. There's no testimony that they're trying to leave the residence or get out of the location or anything like that. If anything, sounds like, I guess based on the detective's testimony, this person moved further into the residence, if anything, not out of the residence. or is headed out of the residence. So there's no reason for Mr. Ellis to think that the threat has subsided, or that this person is trying to retreat or end their attack or anything of that nature. Mr. Ellis is a 71-year-old man. I'm sure he's trying to make it to 72. There was a threat. Mr. Ellis took steps to neutralize that threat in his own house. So I say all that to say that without there being an aggravated assault, we don't have a felony murder, and there's no possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. So that's all the charges be dismissed for lack of probable cause. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Your Honor, for the most part, I'm going to stand on the testimony of the officer, and I say that specifically because we have a defendant who called 911 himself and acknowledged shooting the victim. I'm assuming that, and once officers responded to the scene, he admitted it to them that he had in fact shot her. He shot her twice. Why does this rise to aggravated assault and from that felony murder? We have 2 shots here, Your Honor. First shot in the leg. We know she got shot in the leg, and we knew she was still alive because you can hear her on the recording saying, "You shot me," as the detective testified multiple times. The problem comes when he shoots her twice. Now, if you want to contend that she's the aggressor, you shoot her the first time. Whether or not you use excessive force, that's debatable, but she's still alive. We can argue that later. She can argue that later. The problem comes when he shoots her that second time. That second shot in the neck is likely what killed her. He had opportunity to retreat. He had opportunity to summon help. He possibly should have never let her in to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. But that leaves him with that aggravated assault. That leaves him with felony murder. That leaves him with the charges pending before the court, Your Honor. And state would contend at this time, for the purposes of probable cause, that's sufficient evidence based on his own admissions that he shot her both times to transfer the case to the Superior Court for final disposition.
All right. Thank you both. Based on the testimony presented today, I do find probable cause to bind overall charges to Superior Court. I will issue that order today. Detective Gant, if you don't have any other cases, you can be excused. Thank you. And deputies at the jail, that will take care of everything on Mr. Ellis's case, and so he can be taken back. Thank you, sir.